I have grown up in a Christian home, and so from a really young age, I was very familiar with who Jesus was. But I don't think I really understood what it meant to have a personal relationship with the Lord until 8th grade, and this is my first year of public school because I'd been homeschooled. So yeah, going into public school was so scary. I was definitely someone who struggled with a lot of anxiety. I did not like being out of my comfort zone because, you know, who does? It was just like, oh man, it was hard, and I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna make friends. But even then, I saw the Lord bring in people from my youth group, and they were just so kind and so loving to me. It was the end of my fall semester of 8th grade. My parents both got sick with COVID, and they had to quarantine in their room for all of winter break, which was really, really hard on me and my siblings. Me and my sister had to take over the household rules, like cooking, cleaning. My mom did recover. She was fine after about 2 weeks. My dad, on the other hand, though, he had a cough, a really, really bad cough, and his body just could not recover from that. So on January 1st, in the middle of the night, he had to go to the hospital. So when I woke up that morning, I saw their room was open. I was like, oh, maybe he's feeling better. I went downstairs, looked around, and then I was like, I don't see anybody. And I saw my mom, and she was just standing in the kitchen. And I was like, where's Dad at? Where did he go? And she was like, I had to take him to the hospital. I think that's something that's always felt hard for me because I didn't get to say bye to him in my own house. The last time I really had a face-to-face conversation with him was on Christmas Day. That was the last time I interacted with him in person. The doctor said he'd be back in 5 days, and so I was like, oh, okay, it'll be okay. 5 days went by, and that 5th day was our first day back into the school year for the spring semester. And I remember the end of that day, my grandma picked me up, and I could tell something was off because I was like, my mom was supposed to pick me up. So we got back, and they're like, they had to put your dad into a coma because he needs to be on a ventilator because his lungs are just really struggling right now. I just remember being in so much shock. I think all of 2021 was just a year of shock for me. I did not anticipate that happening. So that launched into 2 months of him being in the hospital, and for me it was just so much anxiety and so much uncertainty. Like I mentioned, I didn't like not knowing what was gonna happen. I just wanted to be in control of things to make sure I felt secure and I felt safe, But our lives revolved around the phone calls from the doctors because sometimes his health would be amazing and it looked like he was making so much progress, and then sometimes it was emergency surgeries at midnight or in the middle of the night, or it was just so much contemplating what is gonna happen and just so much anger. I was just confused. I was like, why would my dad have to be the one to get sick? Why would God allow something like this to happen? Because my dad was someone I did so many things with. So to not have him there for those 2 months was such a surprise. It was just a shock. So yeah, that season of my life was definitely the worst thing I've ever gone through, but I just remember the Lord just being so gracious and so merciful to me. Even in all these nights when I couldn't sleep, or during those 2 months, it was hard for me to do anything, but he was always just there. And even if I didn't feel his peace, the Lord would bring in people to my life. And even if I, in that moment, didn't recognize how much they meant to me, I look back on that and just am like, wow, that's amazing that he brings people in such sorrow and such trauma, So my dad did pass away on February 20th of 2021. And I remember standing in the hospital room saying goodbye to him, which, looking back on it, I think it was hard, and it's hard to have to remember that in my head. I remember it so clearly, but also it was such a representation of how this world is not the end and our life is a mist, like Paul says so many times, this is not the end, and that there's hope in the future. Obviously, grief is something I struggle with every single day. It's never something that I think will go away because, one, our world is still broken, and two, losing somebody or experiencing something like that is never something you can fill. Nothing can fill that. I would try to find it in other things, but it's all temporary. I think I really saw the Lord redeem that brokenness through the people he brought into my life and just through the opportunities he gave us. It's just beautiful to see the way the Lord is looking out for my family, and he is so kind to me when I don't deserve anything. He's opened up a lot of opportunities for my family to go on mission together. So we went to Thailand last year. I got to meet some really awesome people there who are leading Cru at their high schools from different states in the US. And I was like, oh, this sounds like really, like it'd be crazy if we could start something like this. So we get back from that trip, and me, my sister, and a couple of our friends are like, okay, let's do this. It was very unique in College Station because there are no Cru high school staff there. So I was, again, filled with a lot of uncertainty, just having to really rely on the Lord and trust in his provision, and he did provide. I mean, he just wowed me, like breaking through all those barriers that I thought were gonna hold us back. He brought so many resources in, and just meeting the people that were gonna be involved with Cru with us was crazy. Never something I would have thought I would be doing at my school. And I think experiencing the loss of my dad really grew my desire to tell people about the Lord, because I don't know how people do it without him. I cried so much, and there were so many moments where it was mentally so hard, and I just did not want to continue walking through life. It was just like, I can't do this. Like, it's so challenging. But I was just like, people need to know about this great God that loves us so much and has created so many beautiful things for us, because there's nothing like it. And that is what really led me and our friends to start Cru. We got approved for Cru, and we've been going strong for almost a year now, which has been so crazy to think. I think Cru has really showed me that God wants to know us so personally, and there's just this depth of love that is so unexplainable, and he alone changes lives. And I've seen that so clearly through Cru, and not just because of what I've done or what my leadership team has done. Like, it's solely been because of Jesus and just the power that his name holds. So yeah, it's just changed my life. Knowing Jesus and walking through grief I hate it. I mean, I would never wish this upon anybody, but I know the Lord is good and he is sovereign, and he has a plan for my life. He has a plan for every single person on this earth. I love that about God.